You can help support the channel by heading to our merchandise store and picking up some of our great aircraft designs created by our graphic designer. We have everything from fighters to transport aircraft, which you can choose to have printed on t-shirts, mugs, stickers and much more. Head to the description below and click the links and pick up your design today. Thank you and enjoy.
You're introduced as well to the combat ready syllabus. So even though we finished the OCU at this point, it took about 6 months to get combat ready, and there's a whole new syllabus. So we're learning new things. I'd not done air-to-air refueling before. I'd not worked with precision guided munitions before. I'd not worked with a targeting pod before. I hadn't done much night flying. I'd not flown with night vision goggles before, and all of this is wrapped up in the combat ready syllabus. So the first 6 months was really hectic. We went across the Atlantic. There was an exercise in Goose Bay. That was interesting. So never done a tanker trail before. So all these things, are sort of thrown at you over the first, as I say, 6 months. And there's a syllabus of training, and you have to pass that training to get combat ready. It was not as intense as the OCU, if that makes any sense. It was certainly different from the OCU, different approach, and you are flying alongside guys who have done this for a number of years, 1,000 hours plus, and they are giving you that knowledge of the specifics for that sortie. So, for instance, TILD is the targeting pod we used, thermal imaging laser designation pod. It's quite old school now, obviously, extremely old, but then it was cutting edge. And these guys have used it before, and it's pretty much what we learnt on in theatre. And by theatre, I mean that's the Balkans at this point. In the late 90s, we were policing the Balkans out of Gioia del Colle in Italy. And there wasn't low-level stuff in there. It was all medium level. It was all paveway 2 with tiled, either self-spike or cooperative spike with your buddy on the wing. And there's an awful lot to learn there, without a shadow of a doubt. But you've got a mentor who will guide you through. You obviously do the book work. You obviously do the hangar flying. There was a tiled trainer we had. And that sort of thing, but he's there to sort of guide you through all the nuances and all the little bits, and after 6 months, you combat ready. I make it sound easy. It wasn't. It was obviously a big thing to get the squadron patch on one's arm. Yeah. So at this point, the patch is key. If you've got a Harrier patch on your arm, you've passed the OCU. If you've got a heraldic squadron badge, a la the mug behind me, there's 3 squadrons heraldic badge. You put that on your arm, you're combat ready, and that's it. So that was a big deal. That was on the Friday. It was mid to late December at this point. So having arrived in about the July, August-ish time, that gives you a sense of how long it took to get combat ready, and then you are off. I mean, you're declared to NATO. You are a combat ready frontline pilot, and you are used. I got combat ready on the Friday. Managed to squeeze a beer in the bar, but at that point it was one beer, room, pack, suitcase. MT picked me up the next day to take me down to Dusseldorf. I jumped on a Deutsche BA, as it was back then, Deutsche BA flight to Rome. This is how desperate they needed to, rotate, because there were guys in theatre who needed to come home, and guess what? Donks is ready, off he goes. So I got to Rome, picked up a hire car, drove down from Rome to Bari. Was it Bari? Yes, it was. Dropped the hire car at the airport there and got picked up by Squadron MT from Gioia, which is about a half an hour drive or so from Bari. So they picked me up. That's on Saturday. Sunday was spent all day going through all the documents pertaining to operating in theatre. So this is now quite a heady document. One of the heady documents was SPINs. They're called special instructions. So these are theatre specific rules and regulations. how the airspace was coordinated, who I was going to talk to, what the plan, the communications plan was going to look like to take a pair or not take a pair, be on the wing of a pair, going through the tanker into Bosnia. Making sure my gear was sanitized. You don't fly with, name on your chest. It's literally just wings, service number, dog tags, that sort of thing. You don't fly with your wallet, all that jazz. So, we're getting ready for an operational theatre here. That was Sunday. Monday, I was airborne on the wing of the Boss. Off we go to the tanker, through the tanker, and into Bosnia. And I have to say, it was novel, and again, I'm flying with guys who have done this. This is my first step into operational flying, my first trip, and we were coasting. I remember this like it was yesterday. We were coasting in over the Bosnian coastline, and taking an aircraft into an operational theatre. There are things loaded into the aeroplane that you ordinarily wouldn't fly with. So, with a jamming capability and an electronic warfare capability on the aeroplane, it's loaded such that it's. I've got to choose my words carefully here because I'm not trying to give anything away, even though it's 25 plus years ago. The jet's loaded with theatre specific software, should we say no more than that, which you don't fly around in the UK necessarily with that, or we didn't back then necessarily fly around with that loaded, because there was no need, and it's highly classified stuff. So here I am coasting in over the Bosnian coastline, and the jet lights up like a Christmas tree and tells me I'm being targeted by an SA-6. And there's SA-6 in theatre, so, I sort of go, oh my God, this is, what's happening here? And whilst you fly through Spade Adam, which is up in Northumberland, a big electronic warfare range there when you're doing training, and you're lit up by, various systems that are up there to simulate the real thing. When it happens, what you think is for real, oh my goodness me! So this was like a oh my goodness me. So I get this SA-6 spike, and I say to the boss, SA-6 spike, whatever it was, 2:00 or something like that, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it happens every time." Is what he says on the radio, and I go, "Well, yeah, that's all well and good, but what does one do at this point?" And he said, "Oh, it's a microwave comms link between Italy and Bosnia," and I go, "Oh." Fair enough. So it wasn't an SA-6 at all, but little did I know. But this is indicative of just being there and coping, to be honest.